3 months had passed since the fall of the Vrax Empire. The Tiguk still orbited the Vrax homeworld, but it wasn't alone anymore. 10 more human ships floated nearby, and around them, ships from 43 different species gathered for the first galactic assembly. Captain Day stood on the bridge watching the view screen. So many different ships, so many different species, all coming together to build something new. Captain, Communications Officer Yoon called. Captain Hana of the Harmony is requesting a meeting. She says it's important. Put her through. Captain Hana appeared on the screen. She was older than Day, with gray hair and wise eyes. Day, we need to talk about the Vrax situation. There's something you should know. What is it? We found someone the Vrax have been keeping secret for 3,000 years. An hour later, Day and his senior crew stood in a chamber deep beneath the Imperial Palace. Ambassador Lear Asha and young Prilyan were there too. In the center of the room was a stasis pod. Who is it? Dr. Rin asked. According to the palace records, this is philosopher King Voranik, Captain Hana explained. He was the last democratic leader of the Vrax. 3,000 years ago, he opposed the military taking control. They put him in stasis rather than kill him. Why keep him alive, Lieutenant Jin wondered. Insurance, Prilyan suggested, in case they ever needed legitimacy, a connection to the old ways. Can we wake him? Day asked. Medical Officer Mira examined the stasis pod's controls. Yes, the technology is old but functional. But Captain, he's going to wake up to a completely different world. Better than staying asleep, Day said. Bring him back. Mira worked carefully at the controls. The stasis field flickered and faded. The old Vrax inside stirred. His eyes opened slowly. Where am I? Voranik asked weakly. Ambassador Lirasha stepped forward. You're safe. You're in the Imperial Palace. But there is no more Empire. Things have changed. How long? Voranik asked. 3,000 years, Prilyan said gently. The old philosopher looked shocked, then sad. I failed then. The military won. They won, Day said. But they also lost. The empire they built has fallen. Now your people have a chance to start again. Voranik studied the humans. You're not Vrax. What species are you? We're human, Dr. Rin said. Well, that's a long story. They spent an hour explaining everything. The Empire's rise, the conquest of 47 species, humanity's isolation and return, the battles, the fall of the Empire. Voranik listened to it all in silence. When they finished, tears ran down his scaled face. My people became monsters, he whispered. Some did, Lirasha said. But not all. Many of us want to be better. We want to return to the values you taught. But how? Voranik asked. How do we fix 3,000 years of mistakes? One day at a time, Captain Day said. The same way humans did. A message came through from Captain Siak of the exploration vessel Pioneer. Captain Day, the Galactic Assembly is ready to begin. Everyone's waiting for you. The chamber that once held the Emperor's throne had been transformed. Representatives from 43 species sat in a circle. No thrones, no hierarchy, just equals gathered to talk. Captain Day stood at the center. Thank you all for coming. 3 months ago, most of you were slaves, subjects, conquered peoples. Today, you're free. The question is, what do we do with that freedom? A reptilian delegate stood. We want revenge. The Vrax enslaved my people for 500 years. They deserve punishment. Many delegates nodded in agreement, but philosopher King Voranik stood up. The room fell silent. Some of the delegates recognized him from ancient history. You're right to be angry, Voranik said. My people committed terrible crimes, but I ask you, will revenge bring back the dead? Will it heal your wounds? Or will it just create new cycles of hatred? What would you have us do? Another delegate asked. Forgive and forget? No, Voranik said firmly. Never forget. But perhaps we can choose to build instead of destroy. to teach instead of punish, to grow together instead of apart. Ambassador Lir Asha stood beside him. The old emperor is in exile. His supporters have lost power. But millions of ordinary Vraks remain. They didn't choose the empire. They were born into it. Are they guilty too? The young ones aren't, said a delegate from a long-enslaved species. Children can't be blamed for their ancestors' crimes, but they must learn from them. Agreed, Captain Day said, which is why I propose the Galactic Compact. Not an empire, not a collection of isolated worlds, but a federation, a community where every species is equal, where knowledge is shared, where disputes are resolved through discussion, not war. Humans will lead this compact? A suspicious delegate asked. No, Captain Seok said, standing. No one leads. We all contribute. We all have a voice. Captain Hana added, humans will share our technology, our knowledge, but we won't rule. We've seen what empires do. We don't want to become one. Dr. Rin pulled up holographic displays. Look at this. These are educational programs, medical advancements, agricultural techniques, everything humanity developed during our isolation. We're giving it all away. Free. To everyone. Why? A delegate asked. What do you gain? Peace, Lieutenant Yuna said simply. We gain peace. We gain friends. We gain a galaxy where our children can explore without fear. The debates continued for days. Some species wanted complete independence. Others wanted closer cooperation. Some still harbored anger toward the Vraks. Others were ready to move forward. Engineer Hai spent those days teaching alien engineers about human reactor technology. It's not as complicated as it looks, she explained to a group of fascinated students from 6 different species. The key is balance. Power without control is dangerous. Control without power is useless. You need both. Tactical Officer Han ran joint training exercises with security forces from multiple species. Human combat techniques focus on ending fights quickly with minimal harm, he taught. We learned the hard way that every enemy you kill creates 10 more who want revenge. Better to disable and discuss than destroy and regret. Pilot Wu gave flying lessons to anyone who wanted them. Speed is great, he told his eager students, but accuracy is better. And knowing when not to fly is best of all. Medical Officer Mira established the first multi-species hospital. Every species has different biology, she explained to her new colleagues. But pain is universal. So is the desire to heal. We'll learn together. Lieutenant Jin mapped new trade routes and safe passages through dangerous regions of space. The galaxy is huge, he said. Huge enough for all of us. We just need to learn to share it. Communications Officer Yoon created translation programs that worked for all languages. Words divide us, she said, but meaning connects us. We're teaching computers to find that meaning. Security Chief Tay trained peacekeeping forces. The goal isn't to win fights, he emphasized. It's to prevent them. Every time you avoid violence, you've won the real battle. On the last day of the assembly, a vote was called. The Galactic Compact would be formed or rejected. Every species would choose. The results came in one by one. 43 species voting. Captain Day watched nervously. 41 voted yes. 2 abstained, wanting more time to consider. 0 voted no. The chamber erupted in celebration. Different species cheered in different ways, but the joy was universal. Philosopher King Voranik embraced Ambassador Lir Asha. We have a second chance, he said. My people have a second chance. Young Prillian looked at Captain Day. What happens now? Now. Day smiled. Now the hard part begins. Building is always harder than destroying, but it's worth it. 6 months later, the Teguk prepared to leave the Vraks' homeworld. Their mission was complete. The Galactic Compact was functioning. Trade routes were open. Schools were being built. Former slaves were returning to their homeworlds as free citizens. The crew gathered on the bridge one last time before departure. They'd been away from Earth for almost a year. Captain, Lieutenant Yuna said, do you think it will last? The compact? Day looked at the view screen. Ships from dozens of species moved peacefully through the system, trading, learning, living together. I think it has a chance, he said. A better chance than the Empire ever had, because it's built on choice, not force. Where will we go next? Pilot Wu asked. Earth first, Day said. We need to report back. Rest, resupply. Then. He smiled. Then there's a whole galaxy to explore. And now we can explore it with friends. Dr. Rin entered one final log entry. The Vrax Empire panicked when they saw our ship because they didn't understand what we'd become. They saw our technology and thought it made us conquerors. They were wrong. Our technology made us capable of conquest, yes, but our wisdom made us choose something better. We chose to be teachers, healers, friends. The galaxy is changing, not through force but through cooperation. Not through fear but through hope. Humanity returned to the stars not to dominate, but to elevate. Not to rule, but to serve. And in doing so, we found our true purpose among the stars. Engineer High watched the reactor displays as they prepared to jump to faster than light speeds. You know what's funny? She said to anyone listening. We spent 200 years building weapons that could destroy fleets, shields that could withstand anything, engines that could outrun stars, and we ended up using all that power to talk, to teach, to help. Ambassador Quan Li stood in the grand hall of the council station, staring at the holographic display before him. The year was 2147, and humanity had just been welcomed into galactic society. It should have been the happiest moment of his career. Instead, his stomach churned with worry. These trade agreements, he said to his assistant, Dr. Minho Song. Something is wrong with them. Minho adjusted his glasses and looked at the data again. The percentages seem reasonable at first glance. We give them raw materials, they give us advanced technology, but look at the delivery schedules. Quan looked closer. The council wanted Earth to deliver materials immediately, but their technology transfers were spread across 50 years, with most of the advanced items coming near the end. We would be locked into dependence, Quan said slowly. By the time we realized the technology was not coming, we would have already given them decades of resources. It gets worse, Minho said quietly. He pulled up another file. I hacked into their public archives. Not illegal, these are supposed to be open records, but they are buried deep. The files showed the history of other species who had joined the council. Every single one followed the same pattern. Initial friendship, trade agreements, then slowly increasing demands. Within 100 years, each species became essentially a resource colony for the older council members. We need to tell Earth, Quan said. We need to reject this membership. But before they could send their report, everything changed. Ambassador Jinho Han had been on the council station for 3 months when he discovered the truth. He was younger than Quan, more idealistic, and he asked questions that made the council members uncomfortable. Why do none of the newer member species have seats on the council? He asked during a diplomatic dinner. They will in time, replied the Velcrin ambassador smoothly, when they have proven themselves worthy. How long does that take? It varies. Some species mature faster than others. Jinho smiled politely. But later that night he spoke with Quan in the privacy of Earth's embassy. I talked to representatives from the Draxan Empire, Jinho said. They have been members for 300 years. They still do not have a council seat. Their requests are always delayed, always pending review. The council uses them, Quan said bitterly. They mine dangerous asteroids that the council species will not touch. They send their young people to work in council factories, and in return, they receive just enough technology to keep hoping for more. Jinho's face hardened. We cannot let this happen to Earth. He began collecting evidence. He recorded meetings, copied files, interviewed other species in secret. He built a case that proved the council was not a partnership but a system of exploitation. Then one night, Ambassador Jinho Han went to sleep in his quarters and never woke up. The official report said heart failure. Natural causes. Very tragic for such a young man. Quan knew better. He had seen the security footage that had mysteriously been erased. He had heard the whispers from maintenance workers who found unusual chemical traces in Jinho's room. But he had no proof. and making accusations would put all the remaining humans on the station in danger. He sent an encrypted message to Earth. They killed Jinho, reject all agreements, come home now. Back on Earth, President Taeyang Ro read the message with a cold fury. He called an emergency meeting of the world government. Scientists, military leaders, and diplomats crowded into the secure chamber. Show them the evidence, Taeyang ordered. Kwan's files were displayed for everyone to see. The pattern of exploitation, the murdered ambassador, the threat that hung over humanity's future. If we reject their membership openly, they will see us as hostile, said General Sora Kwan. They might attack, try to force us into compliance. If we accept, we become slaves in all but name, countered Dr. Hana Choi, who had been brought in to advise on advanced physics. Taeyang looked at everyone in the room. Then we do neither. We go silent. We withdraw slowly, quietly. We make them think we are losing interest in space. We make them think we are not worth their attention. And then, asked Hana. And then we prepare, Taeyang said. We develop technology they cannot imagine. We build defenses they cannot penetrate. And when we are ready, we make sure no other species suffers what Jinho suffered. That was when the Dark Matter Initiative began. Dr. Hana Choi led the research team. Dark matter was invisible, undetectable by normal sensors, and made up most of the mass in the universe. If humanity could learn to manipulate it, they could build ships that were invisible, weapons that could not be blocked, shields that could not be penetrated. It will take decades, Hana warned the president. Maybe a century, maybe two. Then we have time to be patient, Taeyang replied. Start the project. Make it our highest priority, and keep it absolutely secret. Over the next 50 years, Earth changed. All the colonies in the solar system were given new purposes. Mars became a shipyard hidden under kilometers of rock. The asteroid belt became a network of weapon platforms, disguised as mining operations. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn held fusion reactors that powered the dark matter research. Admiral Daewon Kim was a young officer when the project began. He volunteered to join the Deep Space Fleet, the ships that would venture beyond Pluto and build the Armada in total secrecy. You understand you may never return to Earth? His commanding officer asked him. I understand, Daewon replied, but my children or their children will live in a galaxy where humanity is safe. That is worth any sacrifice. He was not alone. Thousands of volunteers joined the Deep Space Fleet. They built cities inside asteroids in the Oort cloud. They raised families in the darkness between stars. They worked for generations on ships that would one day protect Earth from the Council's greed. Meanwhile, Earth's public presence in the galaxy faded. Trade ships stopped coming. Embassies closed. Communications became rare. The Council noticed, but they were not concerned. They assumed humanity was simply another species that could not handle the vastness of space. Let them hide on their little world, the Velcrin representative said dismissively. When they realize they need us, they will come crawling back, and then we will have them on our terms. But in the darkness, in the cold reaches beyond known space, humanity was building something the galaxy had never seen. Captain Subin Kang was born on an ice asteroid 30 light minutes from the sun. She had never felt natural sunlight on her skin, had never breathed air that was not recycled, but she did not feel deprived. She felt purposeful. My grandfather knew Ambassador Jinho, she told her crew one day. He told me stories about how excited everyone was during first contact, how they thought the galaxy would be full of friends and wonders, and instead we found predators, her weapons officer said quietly. Yes, Subin agreed, but we learned from that. We learned to be patient, to be quiet, to watch and wait and prepare, and now after 200 years we are ready. She looked at her screens showing the invisible fleet that surrounded Earth like a protective shell, thousands of ships, hundreds of thousands of people, all waiting for the moment when they could emerge from the darkness and show the galaxy what humanity had become. The moment was coming soon. The Velcrin battle fleet moved through space with confidence. 12 massive warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. They were heading toward the Draxan Empire, carrying an invitation that was really a demand. Join the Council fully or face consequences. Commander Narration watched them from her stealth ship, invisible in the darkness. Her crew was silent, waiting for orders. They had been following this fleet for 3 weeks, observing, recording, preparing. The Draxans do not deserve this, her pilot said quietly. They are a peaceful people. They only want to trade and explore. The Council does not care about peace, Nari replied. They care about control, about resources, about keeping everyone else beneath them. Her communication panel lit up. A message from Admiral Day-Wan, transmitted through channels that the Council could never detect. The message was simple. 2 words, begin revelation. Nari felt her heart beat faster. After 200 years of hiding, humanity was about to step back into the light. But this time they would not be the weak, curious species that had first reached for the stars. This time they would be something else entirely. Send the signal to all stealth units, she ordered. Simultaneous decloak across all 12 sectors. Let every major power in the galaxy see us at the same moment. Her crew worked quickly. Across the galaxy, in 12 different locations, human ships received the same order. They had been invisible for so long. Now it was time to be seen. Fleet Admiral Wu Jinbaek commanded the first fleet at the edge of Council space. 300 ships under his control, all of them hidden in the dark matter dimension. He received the signal and smiled. All ships prepare to decloak on my mark, he transmitted. Show them we exist. Show them we are strong. Show them we have not forgotten. He counted down from 10. Around him, his bridge crew stood ready. Some were nervous. Some were excited. All of them understood the importance of this moment. 3, 2, 1, mark. The fleet appeared. 300 ships materialized out of nothing, their hulls shimmering as they shifted from the dark matter dimension into normal space. They formed a perfect wall, blocking the Council trade route that connected their core worlds. On the Council station, alarms began screaming. Sensors that had shown empty space now showed hundreds of unknown contacts. The duty officer stared at his screen in disbelief. Sir, we have unknown vessels appearing in Sector 7. Hundreds of them. They just materialized out of nothing. Sensor malfunction, his supervisor said. Run diagnostics. Sensors are fine, sir. The ships are real. And they are broadcasting a message. The message appeared on every screen, in every language the Council knew. We are humanity. We have not forgotten. We have not forgiven. We will not allow you to harm another species. This is your only warning. At the same moment across the galaxy, the same scene repeated 11 more times. Human fleets appeared near major Council military bases, near trade hubs, near diplomatic stations. Not attacking, not threatening, just appearing, just showing themselves. Near the Velcrin homeworld, Commander Nari's fleet decloaked right in front of the battle group, heading to threaten the Draxans. Her ship, the Silent Promise, positioned itself directly in their path. The Velcrin fleet commander opened a communication channel, his scaled face twisted in anger. Unknown vessels, you are in violation of Council space. Identify yourselves immediately or be destroyed. Nari's response was calm. We are the Silent Promise, flagship of Earth's 3rd Stealth Division. You are ordered to turn back from the Draxan Empire. They are under humanity's protection now. Humanity. The Velcrin commander laughed, a harsh hissing sound. The weak species that ran away 200 years ago. You dare threaten us? We do not threaten, Nari said quietly. We promise. The Velcrin commander cut the communication. He turned to his weapons officer. Destroy them. All of them. Use quantum torpedoes. Show these humans what real power looks like. The Velcrin ships fired. Hundreds of torpedoes, each one capable of cracking a moon, streaked through space toward the human fleet. The torpedoes had never failed. They were the Council's most feared weapons. Nari did not move, did not flinch. She simply nodded to her defense officer. Activate shields. The torpedoes reached the human ships and passed right through them. The ships shimmered, existing partially in another dimension. The weapons designed for normal space could not touch them. Impossible, the Velcrin commander whispered. Your turn is over, Nari said. Now we show you what we can do. Vice Admiral Hyun Seo, you may demonstrate. In the fleet, one ship moved forward. It was smaller than the Velcrin dreadnoughts, sleek and dark. Vice Admiral Hyun Seo commanded it personally. He had lost his parents when he was young, killed in an accident on Mars while building the first stealth ships. He had dedicated his life to making sure their sacrifice meant something. Target the 3 lead Velcrin ships, he ordered. Disassembly beam. Low power. I want them taken apart, not destroyed. Let their crews survive to tell the story. The weapon charged, drawing power from dark matter itself. Then it fired. A beam of distorted space connected Hyun's ship to the first Velcrin dreadnought. The massive warship, 15 kilometers long and covered in armor, began to come apart, not exploding, not burning, just separating into its component molecules, like a building being carefully disassembled brick by brick. The crew had time to evacuate in emergency pods before their ship ceased to exist. They watched in horror as their mighty dreadnought simply stopped being solid matter and became a cloud of atoms, drifting harmlessly in space. The second ship suffered the same fate. Then the third. "Cease fire," Hyun ordered. "I think they understand now." The remaining 9 Velcrin ships did not fire again. Their commander stared at the empty space where his 3 most powerful vessels had been moments before. "What are you?" he asked, his voice shaking. "We are what you made us," Nari replied. "You taught us that the galaxy is not safe, that trust is a weakness, that only the strong survive. So we became strong, stronger than you, stronger than anyone." Across the galaxy, similar demonstrations occurred. Not every fleet needed to show their weapons. The sight of ships appearing from nowhere, immune to all attacks, was enough to send most Council forces into retreat. On the Council station, panic spread like a fire. The 12 representatives gathered in emergency session, shouting over each other, demanding answers that no one had. How did they do this? Where did they get this technology? How long have they been watching us? What do they want? The Lumini representative pulsed a deep red, a sign of extreme distress. 200 years ago, we welcomed them. Then we exploited them. We killed their ambassador. We thought they ran away in fear. But they were planning, preparing, and we never even noticed. Within 6 hours, every military operation in the galaxy had stopped. Trade ships were recalled. Embassies were evacuated. Station defenses went to maximum alert, though everyone knew those defenses would be useless. The galaxy fell silent. Every species, from the most powerful to the weakest, waited to see what humanity would do next. On Earth, President Taeyang Ro, now 90 years old and using a walking stick, addressed his people. "My friends, today we revealed ourselves to the galaxy, not as victims, not as prey, but as guardians. The Council will learn that their way of doing things is over. A new era begins today." In the darkness of space, Admiral Daewon stood on his bridge and watched the reports come in. Every fleet had decloaked successfully. Every demonstration had worked. The galaxy was afraid and fear would make them listen. "Send a message to the Council," he ordered. "Tell them we are sending an ambassador. Tell them we have terms. And tell them they have 7 days to accept." The message was sent. The galaxy held its breath. The silence was no longer humanity's. It belonged to everyone else now as they waited to learn what came next. The Council chamber had never been so tense. The 12 representatives sat in their seats, but none of them looked comfortable. Some whispered to advisors. Others stared at empty air, lost in thought. The Velcrin representative kept shifting colors, a sign of barely controlled rage. "They are coming," announced the chamber's AI. "The human ambassador will arrive in 30 seconds. "How?" demanded one representative. "We have the best security in the galaxy. Nothing can enter this station without our sensors detecting it hours in advance." The answer came when a point in space, right in the center of the circular chamber, began to shimmer. Reality twisted, folded, and opened. A woman stepped through, appearing from nowhere. Speaker Mirai An was 40 years old, dressed in a simple black suit with Earth's flag on her shoulder. She carried no weapons, no guards, no ceremonial displays. She did not need them. Behind her, the portal closed, leaving her alone among the 12 most powerful beings in the galaxy. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me," she said calmly, as if she had simply walked through a door instead of appearing from another dimension. "We did not agree," snapped the Velcrin representative. "You invaded our chamber. Would you have agreed if I asked politely?" Mirai responded. She did not wait for an answer. Instead, she touched a device on her wrist. Holographic displays appeared around the chamber, hundreds of them. Each one showed a Council military base, a fleet position, a weapons platform. Every significant military asset the Council possessed. Displayed with perfect accuracy. "You have been watching us," the Velcrin representative said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "For 200 years, Mirai confirmed. We know where every one of your ships is located. We know your supply routes, your defense protocols, your communication codes. We have been invisible in your space, learning everything about you, while you forgot we even existed." She walked slowly around the circle, making eye contact with each representative. 2 centuries ago, you welcomed us to the galaxy. We were excited. We thought we had found friends, partners, teachers. Instead, we found predators. You killed Ambassador Jinho Han because he discovered your system of exploitation. You plan to do the same to us that you have done to a dozen other species. The Lumini representative pulsed softly. Not all of us agreed with those actions. But none of you stopped them, Mirai replied. You were content to benefit from the system, even if you did not personally give the orders. That makes you complicit. She returned to the center of the chamber and pulled up another display. This one showed the Draxan Empire. You were planning to force them into full membership, to take their best minds, their resources, their freedom. We stopped you. We will stop you every time you try this again. What gives you the right? The Velkrin representative rose from his seat, towering over Mirai. You hide for 200 years and then emerge with threats and demands? You are one small species. We are 12 civilizations with millions of years of combined history. We have the right because we have the power, Mirai said simply, and we have the will to use it. You ruled through strength. Now someone stronger has arrived. By your own rules, we are in charge now. She held up her hand before the outraged responses could begin. But we do not want to rule. We want justice. And we want to make sure this never happens again. So here are Earth's terms. The holographic displays changed, showing a document written in every council language. First, all exploitation treaties are immediately void. Species that have been forced into servitude will be released. Their debts are canceled. Their resources are their own again. Impossible, said one representative. Those agreements have been in place for centuries. Our economies depend on them. Then your economies will change, Mirai replied coldly. Second, the Council will pay reparations to every species it has harmed. The amount will be determined by an independent tribunal, which Earth will oversee. You cannot force us to bankrupt ourselves, another representative protested. We can force you to do anything we want, Mirai said, but we prefer to give you a choice. Accept these terms voluntarily or have them imposed by force. Third, the Velkrin leadership will stand trial for crimes against sentient beings. This is not negotiable. They ordered the assassination of Ambassador Jinho Han. They have ordered attacks on peaceful species. They will answer for their crimes. The Velkrin representative roared in fury. You dare demand we hand over our leaders for trial? By what authority? By the authority of being able to disassemble your homeworld if you refuse, Mirai said, her voice never rising. Do not test us on this. We are very serious. She pulled up the final term. Fourth, a new galactic compact will replace the Council. Every species will have equal representation. Earth will serve as enforcer, making sure no powerful civilization can prey on weaker ones. We will be the shield that protects the innocent. And who will protect us from you? Asked the Lumini representative quietly. If you have all this power, what stops you from becoming what the Council was? For the first time, Mirai's expression softened slightly. That is a fair question. The answer is that we will police ourselves. We will publish all our enforcement actions publicly. We will accept oversight from the species we protect. And if we ever abuse our power, then we deserve to be stopped just as we are stopping the Council now. She looked around the chamber one last time. You have 7 days to accept these terms. If the Council agrees, we will work with you to create a peaceful transition. If you refuse, we will dismantle your military infrastructure piece by piece until you have no choice but to comply. And if you attack Earth or any of our allies in the meantime, we will respond with overwhelming force. You would start a war that could destroy half the galaxy, one representative said. No, Mirai corrected. We would end a war that has been ongoing for millennia. You have been at war with every weaker species you encountered. You just called it membership and trade agreements. We are simply naming it honestly. She activated her portal device. The shimmer appeared behind her. 7 days, she repeated. Choose wisely. She stepped through and vanished, leaving the Council representatives in stunned silence. For 3 days, the Council debated behind closed doors. Arguments raged. Some representatives wanted to accept immediately. Others wanted to fight. The Velkrin pushed hardest for war. We cannot let one species dictate terms to the entire galaxy, the Velkrin representative insisted. If we surrender now, we are admitting weakness. Other species will rebel. Our entire system will collapse. It is already collapsing, the Lumini representative said tiredly. The humans are right. We built our power on the suffering of others. Perhaps it is time we faced the consequences. On the 5th day, the vote came. 5 representatives voted to accept Earth's terms immediately. 4 voted to reject them. 3, including the Velkrin, voted to mobilize every fleet they had for one massive assault on Earth. The council was split. In the end, they issued a statement. 5 members would accept the terms. The other 7 would consider humanity an enemy and respond accordingly. General Soroquan received the news on Earth and immediately mobilized ground forces. If they want a war, we will give them one they will never forget. But Admiral Day Wan, watching from his flagship, was not surprised. The Velkrin never surrender, he said to Captain Subin, who stood beside him. They would rather die than admit defeat. So we will give them a demonstration they cannot ignore. He opened a channel to all human fleets. All ships converge on the neutral zone. We will meet the Council's war fleet and show them the true size of our armada. It is time they learned that we did not reveal our full strength. We showed them only what we wanted them to see. Across the galaxy, human ships began to move. The 7 council members who had rejected the terms scrambled to assemble their forces. 50,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled, began the journey to the neutral zone between Council and Earth space. They thought they would face 3,000 human vessels. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The neutral zone stretched empty and dark between the Council's territory and Earth's solar system. It was a region of space that no one claimed, no one wanted. Now it would become the site of the most important confrontation in galactic history. The Council's war fleet arrived first. 50,000 ships representing 7 different species who had rejected Earth's ultimatum. The Velkrin dominated the fleet with their massive dreadnoughts. Others contributed carriers, destroyers, and cruisers. Together they formed a wall of metal and firepower that stretched across millions of kilometers. On the flagship, the Velkrin fleet commander studied his displays with satisfaction. Where are the humans? Are they afraid to face us? His sensor officer looked up from her console. Sir, I am detecting ships ahead. 3,000 contacts, matching the number we saw when they revealed themselves. Only 3,000? The commander laughed. They showed their entire fleet and thought it would intimidate us. Now they will pay for their arrogance. All ships prepare to engage. Target their command vessels first. But before he could give the order to fire, a new voice came over all communication channels. It was Admiral Day Wan Kim, speaking calmly from somewhere in the darkness. People of the Council fleet, I am Admiral Day Wan Kim of Earth's Defense Force. I want to tell you a story before we begin. It is the story of silence. On the Council ships, commanders tried to cut off the transmission but found they could not. Earth's signal was being broadcast on every frequency. Impossible to block. 200 years ago, Day Wan continued, you killed our ambassador, a good man named Jin Ho Han, who only wanted to expose the truth about your exploitation of weaker species. You silenced him. You thought you had silenced us. The Admiral's voice remained calm, but everyone listening could hear the steel beneath the words. We learned from that moment. We learned that the galaxy respects only strength. We learned that trust makes you vulnerable. We learned that sometimes the best weapon is patience. He paused, letting his words sink in. So we went silent. We withdrew from your space. We made you think we had given up, that we were weak, that we were not worth your attention. And while you forgot about us, we built. We prepared. We became strong. On the Velkrin flagship, the commander had heard enough. All ships fire at will. Destroy them. 50,000 ships open fire at once. Energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, quantum torpedoes. The space between the fleets lit up like a sun as weapons streaked toward the human vessels. The 3,000 human ships activated their shields, and the weapons passed through them harmlessly. Just as they had before, the Council's entire opening barrage accomplished nothing. Now, Day Wan said, let me show you what silence really means. Let me show you what we built while you were not watching. He gave a single order. Reveal the fleet. The space around the Council Armada shimmered. Reality twisted, and ships began to appear, not 3,000 ships, not 10,000. 300,000 vessels materialized from the dark matter dimension, surrounding the Council fleet on all sides. They had been there all along, invisible, waiting. Some were small and fast like hunting birds. Others were massive, dwarfing even the largest Velkrin dreadnoughts. All of them bore Earth's symbol, a simple blue and green circle representing their homeworld. On the Council ships, silence fell. Crews stared at their sensors in disbelief. Officers struggled to count the contacts and failed because there were too many. The Velkrin commander felt his scales turn pale. a physical sign of fear his species could not control. 300,000 ships, Daiwan said quietly, built over 2 centuries by people who never forgot what you did, by families who lived their entire lives in the darkness beyond Neptune, working so that future generations would be safe, by scientists who dedicated themselves to technologies you never imagined, by soldiers who trained for battles they might never see. Captain Subin Kang commanded one of the newly revealed ships. She looked at her crew, seeing the pride in their eyes. Her grandfather had worked on the first dark matter prototype. Her parents had helped build the shipyards. And now she was here, part of the moment they had all worked toward. This is what you created, Daewon continued. When you chose exploitation over friendship, you made an enemy of a species that never forgets and never gives up. We did not reveal an Armada 7 days ago. We revealed a fraction. A small sample. Just enough to make you think you understood our strength. He let that sink in. You thought you could win because you outnumbered what you saw. But you never saw the real fleet. You saw only what we wanted you to see. On Earth, President Taeyang-ro watched the scene unfold on displays in the command center. He was now 97 years old, confined to a wheelchair, but his eyes were bright and alert. Beside him stood the leaders who would take over when he was gone, learning the weight of the decisions they would have to make. Do not fire unless they fire first, Taeyang had ordered. Give them every chance to surrender. We are not here to slaughter them. We are here to stop them. In the neutral zone, the Council fleet held its position. Some ships were trying to retreat, but others blocked their path. The Velkrin commander knew he was beaten but could not bring himself to admit it. If we surrender, we lose everything, he said to his officers. Our pride, our position, our power. If we fight, we lose our lives, his tactical officer replied quietly, and accomplish nothing. Sir, we cannot win this. Vice Admiral Hyun Seo, who had demonstrated the disassembly beam days earlier, sent a direct transmission to the Velkrin flagship. Commander, you have fought with honor. You assembled your fleet and faced an enemy you thought you could defeat. There is no shame in retreating when facing an overwhelming force. But there is shame in throwing away the lives of your crew for nothing. The Velkrin commander closed his eyes. He thought of the thousands of soldiers under his command, good people who had followed orders and deserved to go home to their families. He thought of the centuries of Velkrin dominance, ending not in glorious battle but in quiet surrender. Finally, he spoke. This is Fleet Commander Raxalon of the Velkrin Empire. We surrender. All ship, you stand down. Do not fire. One by one, the other council ships followed. Weapons powered down, shields lowered. The largest war fleet ever assembled became a collection of defeated vessels, surrounded by a force they could not hope to match. Daewon allowed himself a small smile. Your surrender is accepted. Your crews will be allowed to return home safely. Your ships will be escorted out of this region, and your leaders will be taken into custody to stand trial. And if we refuse to hand them over, Raxalon asked, already knowing the answer. Then we will come and take them, Daewon replied. And you do not want us to do that. The confrontation was over. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. 10 years passed. Captain Yoonji Park flew patrol along the new borders established by the Galactic Compact. Her ship was smaller than the warships that had fought in the neutral zone, but it was fast and powerful. She was part of the peacekeeping force, the human fleet that now protected the galaxy's weaker species. The Compact was working. The old council had been dissolved. Its leaders had stood trial, and some had been punished while others had been forgiven based on their individual actions. The exploitative treaties had been canceled. Species that had been enslaved were now free. Trade flourished under the new system. Species that had been enemies now worked together, protected by Earth's promise that aggression would not be tolerated. The Draxan Empire had become one of humanity's closest allies, grateful for the intervention that had saved them from subjugation. On Earth, in a quiet memorial garden, Ambassador Yuna Park placed fresh flowers at a monument. She was 80 years old now, had served as Earth's chief diplomat during the transition to the Compact. The monument listed the names of everyone who had died during the 200 years of preparation. Ambassador Jinho Han's name was first. We did it, she said softly to the stone. We made sure no one else would suffer as you did. We made the galaxy safer. The inscription on the monument read, "They died in our silence. We rose in theirs." Far from Earth, in a research station orbiting a distant star, Dr. Hana Choi taught a class of mixed species. Humans, Draxons, Luminae, and others listened as she explained the basics of dark matter manipulation. The technology is not a secret, she told them. We will share what we know. But the weapons remain with Earth alone. This is the responsibility we accepted when we took on the role of protector. One student, a young Draxon, raised a tentacle. Professor, what if Earth becomes corrupt? What if you become what the Council was? Hana smiled. Then you will do what we did. You will prepare, you will become strong, and you will stop us. That is the natural order of things. Power must always be checked by the possibility of resistance. We do not fear that future. We accept it. On the dark matter flagship Eternal Vigil, Admiral Daewon Kim prepared to retire. He was 103 years old, had served longer than any officer in Earth's history. His replacement, Admiral Subin Kang, stood beside him as they watched the fleet conduct exercises. Do you think we made the right choice? Subin asked. Taking on this burden? Daewon considered the question carefully. We made the necessary choice.